Hi, everybody. Sorry about the cough. I wasn't quite ready to hit that live button, and then all of a sudden I needed a cough. How are you? It's Tuesday. Hello to all of you. Oh my gosh, so many of you are here. Colleen, it's Bangalicious Tuesday, she says. I like that. Kim's here. Cecilia's here. Mary is here. Regina, Anita, Ruby. Hi, y'all. How's everybody doing? Cindy is wet in South Florida. Nicole is also wet in South Florida. it's a little rainy down there, I hear. We don't have any of the rain here because obviously we're not that far south, but we have tons of wind. Like the wind here is insane, and I am not mad about it. I mean, I'm sorry for all of you who are having horrible weather, but I'll take your wind because it's cooling everything off. And y'all know how I feel about all that. So I'm not mad about the wind. You can keep sending it my way if you want to. And you can send some of that rain too if you're tired of it, because we haven't had any in a minute. So hi, Kim. Hi, Wendy. Nicole says a lot of rainy. A lot. I understand a lot. I'll take it from you. And like somebody needs to be in the middle to, like, I don't know, inject some coldness to it and turn it into snow. I realize I'm asking for snow way too early, but a girl can dream. It's not even October yet and I'm asking for snow. I mean, can't help it. Oh my gosh. So, y'all, let's talk about it. We got a little bit of housekeeping to take care of. Then we're going to get right down to business. All right. So, just a reminder to everybody, it is the end of the month, and that means that the Hardwired group is open for enrollment. So, if you are interested in coming and being part of my paid Facebook group, then now is your opportunity to do that. All you need to do is go over to the Hardwired Facebook group and apply to be a member. When you apply to be a member, Facebook should send you a list of questions. You need to fill out the questions in order for us to know where to invoice you. If you don't fill out the questions, we can't let you in. We'll get you invoiced, and then we'll get you into the group as soon as you're all paid up and ready to rock and roll. Now, I say should because Facebook, everybody knows, kind of has its own temper and does as it wants whenever it wants to. So sometimes people will go over to the Facebook group, apply to be a member of the group, and don't get any questions. If that happens to you, take back your application and then reapply. I know, I'm sorry, I wish I could fix it, but Facebook has a mind of its own, and we just do, like we're kind of at the Facebook mercy. So there's that. Hardwired is open for enrollment. And if you are curious about what it is that we do in Hardwired, I just want to show you what our weekly project is for this week. So last year around October, we did spiders and spider webs, and everybody asked for spiders again. So we're making spiders today. This is our weekly project for the week over in Hardwired. We're making these spiders, and they are creepy, but they're cool. And we may actually do 2 weeks worth of spiders because I've got another spider project. I just don't know yet. But if you're curious, that's what we do. We do things like that. Where are the bangles we made? I don't know what happened to the bangles, but we did wire leaves. And we just do a lot of really cool stuff. We did some bangles using some memory wire and some 24 gauge wire. So it's a really fun group. It's a small group. We've only got about 200 members, but for each live for the weekly projects, we've only got like maybe 40 to 50 people that are actual in the live. And then the rest of the group kind of watches on replay when they can. We'd love to have you there. So if you want to come and hang out with us and be part of the Hardwired group, we'd love for you to join. So now is your opportunity to do that. We're only open for enrollment once a month. That falls at the end of the month in the transition to the beginning of the next month. So we're open for enrollment for a week. Come hang out with us. We want you to be there. That took a lot of my breath. Let's see. What else do I need to tell you guys? What else? What else? I feel like there was something else that I needed to say that was related to hardwires, or the hardwired group, and now I can't remember what it was. It just totally slipped my mind. Let's see, what else do I need to tell you guys? So I also mentioned that there is a lot of fun stuff coming up with Sam starting in October, and that's next week. So I just want you to know that Sam and I have established a new partnership. I mean, we were already pretty good partners anyway, but we're working on a whole lot more. So if you like to see Sam and I together, or you like to see Sam's beads, or you like to see me use Sam's beads, or whatever the case may be, just know that next month in October, things are going to be changing just a little bit, not much. I'm not changing the schedule or anything like that, but you will be seeing more of Sam and I together, and you will be seeing more Sam related things. So we're going to kind of combine his sales with our lives, and yeah, it's going to be fun. Looking forward to getting that started. So all of that good stuff starts next month, which is just a couple days away. Let's see, what else do I need to tell you guys? I'm leaving, going away. Just a quick reminder, because we did talk about this last week. I am going on vacation. I fly off tomorrow, and I will not be back until next week. There will be a reminder posted. Nicole's put together a really cool graphic to let you know when I'll be back. Just so you know. Okay, I will be on vacation, so there will not be a Feel Good Friday show this week. And there are a couple other adjustments, but for the most part, that's really kind of all there is to it. It's not anything crazy. Now, like I said, I'll be back next week. So, let's see, what else? I feel like there is something else really important, and I'm leaving it out, and I cannot think of what it is. I'm so sorry. Joy says you need to do more videos of you eating yucky stuff. That was so much fun. Okay, so I definitely have a Snack Shenanigans on the horizon. I haven't started ordering the things for it yet, but Snack Shenanigans, because you're right, it's been a while. It's been over 6 months since we've done a Snack Shenanigans. So a Snack Shenanigans will be coming up hopefully before the end of the year. So yeah. Let's see. Anything else I can think of? I can't think of it. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. Okay. But most important thing is just remember that Hardwired is open for enrollment right now, and we want you to come. I will take lots of pictures while I'm in Vegas and post them for you. Okay. Let's see. So today's project, you guys, now I've been wanting to do this for a while, and since I moved, I've lost so many things. And one of the things that I lost was my 3D bracelet jig, which I don't understand, because I had more than one. I think I had like 3, and I had extra pegs, and I had pegs in different sizes, and like I had a really cool setup, because the 3D bracelet jig is one of my favorite bead-along tools to play with. It's completely gone. I turned this room upside down trying to find it. Cannot find it anywhere. So I had to get them to send me another one. It's just one. But that's what we're doing today. We're going to be putting together a bracelet using the 3D bracelet jig. There's one thing I forgot to grab. I'll have to grab it here in just a second. So we're going to be using the 3D bracelet jig, and we're going to be incorporating some beads from Sam's bead box. Now, I know we've already looked at Sam's September bead box, but I like to play with Sam's beads because, I mean, they're awesome. So I'm going to incorporate those into our design today. That being said, the design is a design on the fly, so I don't really know what's going to happen. It could go off the rails, but at least we'll be together when that happens. Okay. Make time for the coaster and thrill rides. Yeah, we're working on a list right now. So we're working on a list of things, and the Adventure Dome is like on the top. It's on the top of my list, right underneath the Haunted Museum, because that's the whole reason I'm going to Vegas. So other than the fact that I want to see all the lights and stuff at night, but I digress. Let's get started, shall we? Let's do this thing. Okay. No, I'm not going through the drive-through wedding chapel. I will not be coming back married. Okay. Everybody who's asked me that, the answer is still no. Okay. Yeah, Tim says it's where you didn't look. Obviously, Tim. My gosh. All right. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with, oh my goodness. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Artistic Wire 3D bracelet jig, this is it. Let me get the stuff out of the middle of it here so I can show it to you. So basically, this is a jig, a wire jig on the round. Now, most of you who've never seen this before, you get this and you're like, okay, this doesn't fit me. There's no way I can make a bracelet that'll fit me. That's because this is just the outside. This is just the core, I guess, is the way to say it. Not the outside. This is the core. You're using wire on this. And remember, the wire can expand or contract depending on the design and depending on what you do with it. So you can make a ton of different sizes of bangle bracelets and curved components for jewelry using the 3D bracelet jig. And I promise you, you can make a bracelet to fit anybody. So don't be turned off by the fact that it's small, because even I can't get it on, and I have teeny beeny little hands and twig wrists. Okay. So you're going to have to take my word for it. Nicole says I'm not allowed to get married until I'm the flower girl. I don't think you're ever going to have to worry about that. Okay. I really don't. But Nicole, if that ever happens, I will make you my flower girl. 100%. I'll make sure. Okay, so like I was saying, it's a jig on the round, which means that you can make bangle bracelets with this. You can also make curved components by setting your pegs and making curved components that will fit like on your wrist. So if you wanted to make like a curved something to fit nicely along your wrist, you can do that here. You can also make hoop earrings. There are so many things you can do with the 3D bracelet jig. So the jig itself is this awesome Artistic Wire purple, okay? And it comes with 20 pegs, I believe, and 20 stoppers. I say 20, and I could be completely wrong, but I'm fairly certain it's 20. So you get the pegs, and then you get the stoppers. I'm going to show you how to use these. I literally just took mine out of the package. So, Cecilia said, I've seen these for years, but I've never used one. Now the jig is up. I love it. I love it. Celia, you're my kind of person. All right. So the pegs themselves are large on one end and smaller on the other end. Obviously, you're going to put that small end into the jig, but it's not going to stay, obviously. So you're going to use the stoppers. And the stoppers you are going to put over the peg on the inside of the jig. It's just a rubber tube and it just slides right over it. And then that's how you're going to hold your stopper in place. I mean, your peg in place. Also comes with some instructions here. And that's one of my favorite things about Bead-A-Long products is that they always come with instructions. Not only do they come with instructions, but they come with pictures, which is really, really helpful. Instead of just having the written instructions, you get a picture to go along with each one of them. Basically, it just shows you exactly what I just showed you. But I think probably the most important part of this is not necessarily how to set up the jig, but how to finish off your design. And there are a couple of different ways that you can do that. Okay. So in the instructions, there is a method for making a loop to finish off your design. It makes a double loop, but it will close off your bangle and make it seamless. Okay. So that is always an option. That's the easiest option. You don't have to have any extra materials to do this. If this is the way you want to finish off your design. However, there is also an alternative. I'm going to grab that real quick because I didn't grab it before, and I should have. But the alternative to that method, I can get these out of here, are the Artistic Wire crimp connectors. So these are large wire crimp connectors. Basically, what you're looking at here is a crimp bead, crimp tube that is designed for wire, not bead stringing wire, but like actual craft wire. In fact, you treat it the exact same way. You crimp it with a crimper tool. This is going to help to make a cold connection that you can make a bangle with. I'm going to show you how to use these just because this is my favorite way to do it, but you do have to buy these separately. When you buy these separately, you also want to be sure that you're buying the ones that are corresponding with the with the size wire that you're using. And all of that information is going to be back here on the back. So it'll say like use with 12 gauge, use with 14 gauge, whatever it's going to be. Okay. Also, like this one is way too big for the wire that I'm using. I'm gonna have to grab the other ones. So as far as the wire is concerned, I have a couple of different recommendations for the wire. So for me, it doesn't matter if you use artistic wire, if you use German style wire. However, I do prefer artistic wire on the jig just because it's easier to twist and turn into the designs that I want. However, you're going to need to be sure that you're using a thick gauge wire for this. 18 gauge wire is just not going to cut it. Now, that being said, 18 gauge wire is a great wire to use as a practice if you've got some extra. If you want to practice your design with the 18 gauge wire, there's no reason why you can't. However, it's not going to hold its shape and there's not really a good way to work harden it. So I recommend using a wire thicker than 18 gauge wire. So I pulled out the 16 gauge wire. 16 gauge and 14 gauge are really kind of my go-to gauges for using on the 3D bracelet jig. Okay, so let me grab the rest of these. I hope I have some in the right size. I do. So they come in different colors as well. So you can get them in the brass, you can get them in the copper. I'm grabbing the silver because that's what we're using. But you can get them to correspond with the color of the wire that you're using. Okay, so this is a design on the fly. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what we're going to do, but I think we're going to keep it pretty simple since this is definitely a design on the fly. Let's see. Let me see here. There was a comment. So Leah said, I'm so glad you're showing this. I wasn't sure how to use it. It does look too small for a bracelet. You're going to have to trust me, but yep, you're right. It does look way too small for a bracelet. But yeah, I promise it'll work. Okay. All right. So excuse me, to set up the jig, you can do any design that you want to, but you have to remember you've only got 20 pegs and stoppers. Now you can order more. I did once upon a time have more, and you can order them in different sizes as well. I wish that I had my stash, because there are some really cool sizes, but I don't. So we're just going to use what we've got here. But we're going to set this up. And I think we're just, like I said, I think we're just going to keep it pretty simple. So that's my first peg. You can see I set it one row down, and I'm going to try to decide how I want, what kind of design I want. I think I'm going to come down the next row at an angle and set another peg and just make these little triangle shapes. So you can play around with this and come up with some really cool designs. The next one I'm going to go up. So it's kind of, you see what I'm saying? It's like a really deep V. Oh my gosh, y'all are planning the wedding? That's hysterical. Keep going. There's a wedding? Really? I've got to go back and read all the comments for this because, okay, no, wait a minute. That's what I want to do. I'm going to take this off. Hold on. I want the V to be a little bit deeper than what I had. So I'm actually going to start on the top row. So right here on the edge, I'm going to put that peg back in because I'm not planning anything. I'm just securing my spot. I love it. I love it. Okay, so now I'm going to come down. I'm going to skip a row and come down. It's a good thing Q doesn't watch these because he would be he'd be like, yep, we're not going to Vegas. Forget it. You're kidnapping me and taking me off to get married at the drive-up wedding chapel. Nope, not happening, y'all. Not happening. But like I said, Nicole, if it ever does. Colleen says, excuse me, father of the bride. Susie votes for purple. Wedding only if Nicole and Gage can be the flower carrier. That's hysterical. Y'all are cracking me up. Y'all are gonna marry me off. It would definitely have to be like a Facebook Live, wouldn't it? Oh, goodness. For real, though, I don't think y'all don't have to be making any plans. So basically what I'm doing is just this zigzag kind of pattern with my pegs. Now, one thing you're going to know, Nicole says, poor Q. One of the things that you're going to notice is that as you're making your way around, your pegs are not going to go all the way around. You don't have enough of these pegs to go all the way around. That's okay, because remember, I told you, you can open this up. You can spread the wire open, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't go all the way around. You're gonna be able to get pretty close though. Yeah, Patty says maybe a mermaid gown, something Jessica Rabbit-ish. It definitely would have to be Jessica Rabbit-ish for sure. It's funny because before this live, I was in the bathroom trying on bathing suits. Like, I have a ridiculous collection of bathing suits because I hate them. Is anybody else in that same boat? So I have a million of them. And I don't particularly like any of the ones that I have. But I picked out 2 to take to Vegas with me that are very 1950s, like pinup girl style. And they definitely, with my hair, give me Jessica Rabbit vibes. I was like, I'm totally committed to this whole Jessica Rabbit thing. And I didn't even realize it. Jan says, once we get it all planned, we'll let you know. I love it. Oh my gosh. A grown-up prom. Now I can get behind that. We don't even have to I don't have to marry anybody. Let's just have a grown-up prom. I didn't get to go to prom, so it'll be a rockabilly type wedding. Of course it will. You know it will. You know it will. I don't know though. I don't know. If Q had his way, it would be a hip hop wedding. So who knows? I can promise you though that this conversation is a completely moot point, because none of that is going to happen. Promise you. Okay. So put my last peg in here. I just want y'all to know that originally Sam and I were the ones who were planning this Vegas trip. Remember? Y'all remember? And Sam and I had this conversation about it, and he was writing me a message, but like had a typo. Okay, I've set them all up. Okay, now you can see the spacing here where we're missing a peg, right? We would need another peg right here. Actually, we would be missing 2. So a peg here and a peg here would complete the pattern. But that's okay. This is where we're actually going to put our artistic wire crimp when we get to that point. Anyway, so Sam and I were talking about going to Vegas, and he was texting me, and he said we can run. What he meant to say was we'll go to Vegas and get married. Oh, Sam's here. Oh my gosh. He said we'll get married by what did he say? A cross-dressing priest. I feel like there was something cowboy related in. I don't know. It was really funny, whatever he said, but it was a typo. And instead of getting married by, it said getting married to. And I was like, well, polygamy is definitely allowed in Nevada. So originally Sam and I were going to Vegas together to marry a drag queen priest. Apparently that's, that didn't happen. Isn't happening, but it was funny. It was a funny typo. And I will never forget that. So yeah, while I'm there, I'm going to be looking for the priest to marry Sam and I. Okay. So, prom in Tucson. Oh my gosh, Gloria, you know what? That's not actually a bad idea. You've given me some things to think about. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to start with the artistic wire jig. So what I'm going to do, what I personally like to do is I'm going to work off the spool. Okay. I'm not going to pre-cut my wire because I don't know how much wire this is going to take. I really don't. And I also like to anchor my wire by sticking it into one of the empty holes. Now, you don't have to do that. You can lay the wire across the jig and hold it down with your thumb. But for me, I like to just have that extra security by sticking it into the jig a little bit. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to lay that wire across the surface of the jig, and you're going to go to the first peg. Okay. So you can go clockwise or counterclockwise. Again, remember, this is totally up to you. This is your design. I'm going to go counterclockwise, and I'm actually going to turn the entire jig instead of wrapping the wire. Okay. So I've gone around that first peg. I'm going to guide the wire. Whoopsie. Just kidding. Hold, please. I'm going to guide the wire to the second peg. And when I get to the second peg, I'm going to go the opposite direction. Okay. And then up to the next peg. Right, and then to the next. And again, you can do any direction. You can make any design. You can really come up with a billion different designs on this thing. It's so fun. I'm just doing just the most simple, right? So I'm just alternating the direction that I'm wrapping. Sam said, I found the text. Is the main reason you want us to go to Vegas so we can get married with a stripper priest? Next message, edit, by, not with. There it was. There was nothing about a cowboy there. I don't know why I have a cowboy attached to that memory. Oh, that's too funny. A stripper priest. My bad. Not a drag queen. A stripper priest. So Sam and I are going to get married to a stripper priest in Vegas. And Q has no idea. I love it. It's too funny. All right. So I'm just making my way, right, around the jig. And just using the wire that's in my hand, because you just never really know for sure. Now, I can make an estimate and say that it will take at least 18 inches of wire, but not every project is going to take 18 inches of wire. So just, if you can manage holding on to all this extra wire, that's what I would do, just so you don't have any waste. All right. So we've made it to the last peg, and we've gone all the way around, and our wires are kind of coming up to meet each other. Now I'm going to cut this wire, but I want to leave myself about an inch, maybe an inch and a half of this wire to work with, because remember, we're going to use one of these crimps on it. And so I want to be sure that I've got plenty of wire. We will trim it down from this point, but I don't know how much. So I'm going to trim. Okay. Now, before I take this off of the jig, I do want to go around and look at it, and I want to be sure that all of my loops are up against the surface of the jig. Now, you can take your round nose pliers and just kind of push. So just put it on either side of the peg and then just push down, and that will help to push your wire up against the jig. You can also use your bent chain nose pliers, and see how I just push, and it pushes that wire kind of flat up against the jig. That's just going to help to make sure that your loops are nice and closed when you do take this off. So if you want to go around and like check them, you can. I mean, it's not a super necessary step, but it does help if you want to make sure that your loops are closed. Okay. All right. So now what you got to do is you got to take this off of the jig, and you can't just pull it off. So what you got to do is you got to come in here and you got to pull off all of the pegs or the stoppers. And so I pull them off and then just drop them down into the middle here. So just want to wiggle them all off. Am I using memory wire cutters? No, I'm just using my regular cutters. And if you struggle with this, you can also use your bent chain nose pliers to make this go a lot faster. Y'all are cracking me up in the comments. I love it. All right, so I've pulled all of the stoppers off. There they are. Some of the pegs have fallen out too. That's okay. I'm going to take all the stoppers, sit them over here to the side. Don't want to lose those. Okay, and then I'm just going to, from the inside of the jig, push the pegs. Because sometimes it's a little tricky. If you've wrapped really hard, really tightly with your wire, sometimes you gotta wiggle them a little bit. They don't just pop out super easy. Okay, so now we're gonna take this off. Now it doesn't look like much at the moment, right? I mean, it's definitely not a bangle bracelet. I'll raise you up a little bit. Okay. So what we've got here is the bent wire. I'm going to straighten that back out just very gently. Okay, so what I have is a bangle. Now look, see the difference, right? This thing, I can't put my hand through it. It's not big enough to fit. However, now that I take the wire off of it and the wire expands, I've got a bangle that's going to fit a whole lot of sizes, right? And not only that, but I can squeeze it down to make it smaller, or I can pull it apart to make it even bigger. So you can see now it's definitely an illusion that it is too small, right? Because it's not. I promise it will fit so many different sizes. Okay. So now remember, we're going to use our large wire crimps for this. And all we need is just a regular crimper tool like we use for our bead stringing wire. Beadalon does have a crimper tool that is specifically for these, but if you don't want to buy the extra tool and you've already got a regular crimper, then you can use your regular crimper. Okay. Now, what you want is you want to bring your two wires together. Now, you'll notice in the pattern, on one side, my wire is going down, and on one side, the wire is going upwards. So if I bring those two together and put a crimp in between them, that's actually going to close up my pattern, and it's going to be exactly the same. It's going to seem fairly seamless, right? Well, in order to do that and to accommodate our crimp here, we have to trim some of the wire off. You're going to need to leave yourself about 1/4 of an inch of wire. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to trim off. That might be a little bit too much, but I can always trim off more. So on one side, I'm going to trim off 1/4 of an inch of wire, and then I'm going to leave myself 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And again, I can trim this down even more if I need to. Excuse me. Now I'm going to bring those two together. You can see it's still a little long. It's a little bit longer than the distance between the others. So I'm going to trim off just a teeny beeny bit. Don't trim off too much. Don't come up here next to your loop, because you've still got to have some wire in here that you can crimp inside that crimper. Or I'm sorry, the crimp tube, right? So now that's looking a little bit better. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my crimp and I'm going to thread it on to one of those ends. And I only want to thread it on halfway. Right? So without inserting the wire, I can lay the crimp right next to that wire and I can see, okay, that's a little bit more than half. So right about there is where I want to set this. Because remember, you've got another side of the wire that's got to also accommodate, or also has to live inside the same crimp. So you can't fill it up with just one whole side of the wire, or you're not going to have enough room for the other side too. So you got to make room for both of them to fit inside there. Okay. But you can only crimp one at a time. All right. So I'm going to set that crimp tube. I know that that's less than half. I'm going to come in with my crimper tool, and all I'm using is the back notch that has the tooth. We don't need that front notch, right? And I'm going to place it on the wire, and then I'm going to squeeze, but I'm going to squeeze hard. Okay. I'm going to use both hands and really squeeze the handles here. Then when I look at the back side of the crimp, you can see where that tooth has come down, and you can see that wire on the inside. That's how I know that it's secure. Okay. That's also on the inside, so you're not going to see it. Now I'm going to take the other one and insert it, and it's just going to sit right up against the wire that's inside there already. And I'm going to crimp this one too. Same thing. grab, and then I'm going to squeeze, and I'm going to squeeze hard. Okay. Now double checking the inside, you can see the teeth marks, and then you want to give it the tug test. You want to pull on it, make sure you've got a nice, tight, secure bangle. Now your bangle is seamless, right? Easy peasy. You've got yourself a cold connection. You've got yourself a bangle, and now you really can adjust, right? You can take this in your hands and squeeze it down to make a smaller bangle, to adjust a smaller wrist like mine. It still go over my hand, but it's small enough for my wrist, right? Or you can go the opposite direction and you can pull it out just very gently. You want to pull. And what's going to happen is your loops are going to get a little bit smaller, but your bracelet's going to expand and get bigger. Now I don't need mine to be big, so I'm going to squeeze mine back down. Okay. All right. So now we have a wire bangle, and it's nice and sturdy because we've used 16 gauge wire or thicker. So I don't have to worry about work hardening it or anything. Now the sky is the limit here. Okay. You've got loops. You can hang a dangle from every single loop. You can wrap wire between these and put beads on them. You can do literally anything you want to. Peggy says, would you put this on a bracelet mandrel to work harden it? You can, but you really don't need to. If you're using that 16 gauge or thicker wire, it's really not necessary, honestly. Okay, so I've got beads from Sam's Bead Box, and I don't know what we're going to do with them, and I don't really know which ones we're going to use, but there's a couple of different things there's a lot of different things you can do, but there's a couple of things that I love to do, rather, with mine. I'll show you. One of my favorite things is if I've got a flower that's like a bellflower, and there are some bellflowers in this mix. If I've got a bellflower, I love to take a bellflower and set it in one of the loops. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. I don't know how many bellflowers are in here, if we've got enough. I don't think we've got enough to go all the way around, but I might be able to set some in every other. So these are beads from Sam's September Bead Box, by the way, which we designed with last Tuesday. So there are some of the bellflowers. Okay. So what I would do is you can either use a head pin or you can use some thin wire. So I've got some 24 gauge wire here, and I'm going to show you what I do just real quick. So I like to cut a small section of the 24 gauge wire. And I'll take my round nose pliers and I will come to the middle of that wire, just whatever I've cut. And I'm going to make a loop, but I'm going to make a really, really small loop. See how little my loop is? Just a little teeny beany loop. And then I'm going to take my two wires and I'm going to bring the ends together. This is why you got to use a really thin gauge wire. I'm hoping this is going to be thin enough. I'm going to trim some of that off because there's, okay. I'm going to take those two ends and I'm going to slide those through the center of my flower. And then pull. So that loop that I made is kind of acting as a stopper, right, for that bead. And now I've got two legs coming out the back of my bead. So what I can do is I can take my flower, start in the middle here, take my flower, and I'm going to take the two ends of the wire. I'm going to stick them through one of those loops. And I'm going to set that flower in that loop and then separate out those wires. Okay. And I'm going to use one on one side. So one of those wires, I'm going to wrap around the straight section of wire on my bangle on one side, right? Wrap around like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. trim off the excess. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with the other wire on the left side. Okay, so now what you've got is a flower set in that little loop, and it's not going anywhere. It's completely secure because you've wire wrapped it on both sides. Now you can do this with a head pin, but you're only going to be able to wire wrap on one side. So sometimes when you do that, your bead will wiggle a little bit. Still won't come off, but you've only got one side to secure it on if you use a head pin. Yes, you can put a tiny bicone in that flower or a little seed bead. You can put whatever you want to in the center of that flower, and you don't even have to use a flower. You actually can set a round bead in that same space. Let's see. Or a rondelle. The rondelles look really pretty set in those, and you just do those the exact same way. So a rondelle can sit in that little space too. Right? You just do it the exact same way. Let's set a rondelle. I'm going to use some of these tiger eye rondelles. So I'm going to some more 24 gauge wire. Just takes a little bit, right? Make ourselves a tiny little loop. Oh, thank you, Cecilia, for using super chats. Appreciate that so much. Okay. Set that. Thread that on. Do use your pliers to kind of pull. So you've got that. I'm going to set that rondelle. I'm going to separate out the two wires. So one for one side, one for the other side. Right? Just kind of hold it all in place. And wire wrap one. The cool thing is that you can add extra wire to this. You can add bead stringing wire to this. You can use colored artistic wire on the, like, I'm not even kidding when I say the sky is the limit. There are so many design possibilities with this 3D bracelet jig, not with just the pattern, but what you do with the pattern after you take it off the jig, like where you put beads, or if you put beads at all, right? That's why this is one of my very favorite Bead-A-Lawn products. And getting it out and playing with it today just reminds me of how much I love it and how much I've missed playing with it, because it really, truly is such a fun thing to play with. So I can do this exact same pattern and make 10, 15 different styles of bracelets just by what I do to the outside of it. All right, so now we set a rondelle in one of those. You can see it's not going anywhere. And we could put another flower in the next one. So that's what we'll do. I have 2 tiaras too, Nicole. Yeah, it really is. Shelly says it's like a double-ended eye pin. It is very much a double-ended eye pin, which just helps to set these. I mean, it'll set fine with a single, but I do find that it's a little bit more secure if you've got the 2. So set that one, separate the wires out. Is Sam still here? Sam, are you still here? I'm curious as to what Sam thinks about this 3D bracelet jig. That's why I want to know if he's here or not. So I don't know if he's ever played with a 3D bracelet jig. Yeah, so the flowers were from Sam's bead box in the mix. However, Sam does have Very often he has bellflowers in his shop in different colors. It's a pretty popular shape. And you can see those are like, it might wiggle a little bit, but it's not going anywhere. Like it might twist a little, but it's not going to wobble back and forth. Hi, Sam. Sam, I was just curious what your thoughts are on the 3D bracelet jig, because I didn't know if you'd ever played with one before or not. It's a lot of fun. I should get one and send it to you. I wish I could find my stash of the ones I had, because I had enough. I could just send you one of the ones I had, but I don't know what happened to them. I've lost so many things in the move, and I've been here for almost 6 months. It's like, okay, at this point I should have found everything by now, but nope. We're missing so many things, not just stuff from my office. We're missing other things as well. We had a whole tote of video games that we cannot find anywhere. I don't know what happened. I have no idea. We looked everywhere. Moves always swallow stuff. I think so. I really think so. I don't know how it happens either. And I know that all the things that I'm looking for are probably in my storage shed in the very, very back where I can't get to anything. And that's probably why I haven't found it yet. Because, I mean, I know it didn't just like grow legs and walk away. How many times did your mom say that to you when you were a kid if you lost something? It didn't just grow legs. Gia has video games for sale. Gia, you might need to restock my missing video games. So you can see, right? Let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more on this side. Let's do that. So we're going to do bellflower, a tiger eye, bellflower, tiger eye, bellflower, and another tiger eye. So let's set these, and then let's look at what we can do on the bottom row here. So let's do these really quickly. I'll try to go fast. Let me go ahead. I'll just go ahead and pre-cut the wires too, so it might save a little bit of time. There's 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Okay. All right, let's set the rest of these. And then maybe we can do something a little different on the bottom part of this. Ouch. I didn't stab myself. Okay. All right, next one. Separate out the wires. So there's wrap on that side. And then we're going to wrap over here on this side. And if you do this with like, one of my favorite things to do, I tend to love to use flowers on the 3D bracelet jig designs. You don't have to, but I do love a good center drilled flower, whether it is a bell flower or just a really pretty check glass flower that's got a center drill so that you can set it the same way. But then if you use artistic wire in green and wrap around your bangle, it looks like vines. It's so pretty. So definitely an option if you like floral jewelry, right? That's definitely an option. All right, let's put this in here. Just going to keep going around. So there's one. Turn it over. Is it possible to make this larger in circumference and make a circlet out of the design? I don't know that you're going to have, that it will be big enough to make a circlet. However, you can go around the jig twice. However, you're going to need an extra set of pegs to do that. So let me explain what I mean. You're going to set up your design on the jig just like we did just a second ago, right? You're going to go all the way around. And then with a second set of pegs, you're going to step down and do another row all the way down. So you're going to go all the way around it once, and then you're going to go all the way around it again a second time with one seamless piece of wire. And that will give you enough to make a necklace. So yes, it would definitely be enough to make a circlet for sure. But it does require buying a second set of pegs because you do not have enough pegs with what comes with the jig to do that. But yeah, you can. You absolutely can. All right. I'm trying to hurry so we can do something else because I don't want to just do a half-finished project. I don't like it when I walk away and I'm like, well, we didn't finish. I feel like we should at least have something finished here. Oops. And it does help to use your pliers for the wire wrapping if your pieces of wire are a little short. Yeah, you can make a shorter one and put a ribbon on it. Absolutely, that works too. Y'all are so smart. Y'all come up with great ideas. I like that idea, actually. I love a good ribbon on anything, so. What can you use if you don't have the right crimp? So if you don't have the right crimp, in the instructions that are included in your 3D bracelet jig, there's an alternative way to end your design. And it shows you step by step how to do that. And it's not hard. It really is just making a loop on a peg. But it's a double loop. And I don't know, some people don't like the look of that. But it absolutely works. And that was the original way to do that because the 3D bracelet jig came out before these crimps came out. All right. Getting pretty close here. We've only got 2 more after I set this one. Okay. 2 more beads and then we'll do the bottom row and we'll do something different just to show you another possibility here. What other things would you connect to hang from this design? So you definitely can use your loops to hang dangles from. It's a really cool way to make a charm bracelet. If you've got 2 sets of pegs, I'll show you something that's really cool. Give me just a second. I really recommend if you're going to use your 3D bracelet jig on a regular basis to buy a second set of pegs. I normally wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, you've got plenty. And you do have a lot for, to play around with. But if you want to get crazy with your designs and really come up with some really fun things, another set of pegs is a must, in my opinion. worth it to have another set of pegs. And you don't even have to buy the ones that are in different sizes. You can just buy another set of the pegs that are the exact same size as what comes with it. Okay, let me set this last bead in this section. I'll show you something that you can do. I can't do all of it because I don't have enough pegs to do it, but I'll show you what you can do. Okay, so we've got beads all the way around this, right, on that top row. But we have all these on the bottom. So you could hang charms from all those on the bottom if you wanted to, right? Or you could go from loop to loop with something. That's what we're going to do here in just a second. But I did want to go back to this for a second. So if you had a second set of pegs, you can set a peg in either every hole all the way around, or every other hole, and go the same direction. So I'm just going to do a small section just to show you. Okay, so go the same direction around every single one of the pegs, going all the way around the brace or around the jig. Right? And just imagine going all the way around with that to make a whole bangle bracelet that's like that. And then you really do have what I would consider a really, really cool bangle bracelet that you can hang charms from, and they're not spaced far apart, right? You can hang something from every single one of these, or you can hang from here and drape to the next, or drape to the next and drape to the next, right? With beads or with chain or whatever you want to. Like, the sky is the limit. But that's one of my favorite things to do with the jig, is to go all the way around it and do loops on every single peg all the way around, because I have all those loops and there's so many things you can do with those loops. But making a charm bracelet out of it is really, really cool. So you have that as an option. Okay, so if you wanted to, let's see, let me grab something other than just the plain wire that I've got here. Let me see what I've got close by I can use. Okay, so I've got some Colorcraft wire here. I wish I had a different color, but rose gold is what I've got. And I'm just going to cut a section of this and see. We're just, now at this point, we're just kind of playing a little bit just to see. So you can take your wire and let's start here. So you can take your wire, and it's a little tricky when you've got a really long piece of wire. So hold on. What I want to do is I want to wire wrap. I'm gonna have to trim this a little shorter. It's just too much wire to deal with. Okay. So let me show you what I was thinking. So wire wrap to a loop. I've got my tail here. I'm just kind of holding on to it. All right. And then if you wanted to, you could do this without beads, which is why I picked the silver or the rose gold, because I was just going to go across. But since I have these little Druck beads from Sam's box, so you do a couple of beads, and they could be, you could fill it all the way up if you wanted to. And then wire wrap it. All right. Go across your loop. Whoops, and wire wrap. Hold on, I want to be on the other side of this. You could set another bead on there if you wanted to. You know, you could wire wrap a bead in that little space in that loop. So basically, I'm saying wire wrapping, but honestly, it's kind of like sewing with wire across this. Whoops, get my wire stuck here. But then I can go again and add more beads to this to go in those spaces in between. I'm going to add a drop bead from Sam's little mix. Come across here. And they'll still wiggle. And like I said, you can fill it up if you wanted to, but ooh, yeah, a leaf bead, that would be really pretty. I didn't even think about that. There are leaves in this box, but I didn't grab any out. All right, just wrapping across and going all the way across, and like you can fill up the whole bracelet like that, or you could not. You can just leave it. I mean, like you can do whatever you want to do. Then you can wire wrap in here if you wanted to. Like you can do so many layers with this. You have so many possibilities with what you can do with a 3D bracelet jig and like wrapping around. So if you don't like that, let's undo this. Let me show you another way you can do this. So if that's not your favorite, I'm just going to cut this off. Another thing you can do is, hold on. Okay, so instead of that, you could wrap around the loop, right? Just wrap around the loop a couple times. And then hop across and wrap around that loop a couple times and hop across, wrap around that loop. And you can use like a different color wire. Like I've got, you know, the rose gold. You could use green to make your little vines. You could put beads on this like we were doing, right? Just going all the way around, wrapping around those loops. And then you still have your loops open. Even if you put beads on all of this, you still have your loops open. So you can hang dangles from them. You can set beads in them. You can do this on these if you wanted to. Like, I'm just showing you what's possible and then letting you kind of use your imagination with the rest of it. Because I know that's just a little hint of rose gold, but imagine that there are beads on that, or, you know, that you've used this as a place to do a little drape, or so many possibilities, right? You've got a lot of options. And every single one of these that you take off of the jig, even if you use the same pattern, could be different. So, yeah. All right, y'all. I'm going to stop here because we are over our hour mark. I'm going to turn you around and we will say our goodbyes. But I hope that I have inspired you. I hope that you are thinking about the 3D bracelet jig now. And you could look, you could even go like another layer underneath that one. I could go on and on and on. Like, this is one of my favorite things to just play with and see what I come up with. And I'm sure you can tell how much I enjoy playing with it. All right, I'm gonna turn you around. All right, front. All right, my friends. I hope I've inspired you. Like I said, if you've got one of these jigs in the drawer and you've never played with it, get it out. Get it out and play with it. You've got so many, there's so many things you can do with this. You can make curved components, like I said, to go like, that'll curve around your wrist. You can make curves for earrings. I've made 2 different kinds of hoop earrings using the 3D bracelet jig. If you guys were interested in doing another bracelet jig live where we do something like that, like maybe the earrings, we can do that. When I come back from my trip, if y'all want to, we can play with the 3D bracelet jig again and do something different that's not a bangle bracelet, just so that I can show you some other things that are possible with this really cool jig. Again, don't be scared away by the fact that it doesn't fit, because it does once you get the bangle, right? And you can adjust it. You can pull it apart or squeeze it down. So, all right, my friends. Yeah, y'all want to do some earrings? I think we will. That's what we'll do the next time we're together. Okay? I think that'd be fun. I love the bracelet jig, so you don't have to ask me twice. All right, so I'm out of here, you guys. I'm out of here. Hardwired. I will see you at 5 p.m. for our spider project. And then everybody else, I won't see you again until next week because I'm going on vacation. I'll be in Vegas for the next few days. And I hopefully will be able to leave my work brain at home. It's really hard for me to do. For those of you who are like obsessed with your job like I am, you get it, right? Like, even on vacation, your brain is still, so it'll probably take me a day or 2 to at least turn my brain off. But I'm still going to be looking for inspiration. I've heard there is a bead shop, at least one in Vegas. So yeah, don't forget, Hardwired is open for enrollment all this week and probably through the beginning of next week as well. If you are interested in coming and be a part of that, please do so. If you need to watch the replay to figure out how to do that, I told you at the top of the show how to apply to be part of the Hardwired group, and we would absolutely love to have you. All right. You all have an amazing rest of the week, and I won't see you again until next week. So have an amazing weekend as well. Okay. And I will see you guys soon. Bye, guys.